move into this first topic. So, Brandt,
That's my name.
you're on deck. So we talked about this a little bit. Why don't you intro your topic?
Sure. So I wanted to talk about there are plenty of people that I know that do not play video games, but would like the stories in the game. And now, because of the whole entire Let's Play movement, it's possible to send somebody a link, and if they want to go down the multi-hour rabbit hole of watching it, they can. But I was starting to think there are certain games that I think could have really great novelizations made out of them. So these people who don't play the games but might want to to experience the stories can do that through another medium. And I brought it up I brought this game up last week, and I'll bring it up again this week. Imagine giving somebody a copy of like The Last of Us or the Telltale's Walking Dead. I know with Telltale's Walking Dead, you have the choices, and that kind of factors into the game. But if you picked one timeline as canon, giving that to somebody as a novelization would have a similar impact.
Why don't we just have a choose your own adventure version?
Or choose your own. Oh yeah,
that would be amazing.
Shit, you're right. The choose your own adventure, like the Goosebumps style.
You got one finger at this point, like you flip and see which one's better.
Right. If you want to kill this person off, flip to this page, and then you could read it the next time and have a completely different experience. But as game stories get way more developed, there's more of an onus kind of placed on them. I want to know some of the games or game franchises you think could be taken from the medium of the game to the medium of the book. Gentlemen?
Yeah, I think the thing is there is a precedent for it happening already. And so I guess the question would be like, what's the ownership of it? Like, are you trying to adhere to the canon of the story? Like, I think one of my favorite stories of all time told via video game is probably like Gears of War. Like, I feel like they do a good job. They intermingle the plot points with the stuff that you're actually doing in the missions. And I mean, I guess I could use a little bit backstory and probably enjoy that. But I mean, I feel like it's not a story that hasn't been told, just not specifically in the way Gears of War has chosen to tell it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the problem, is that not, even if games have a good story, it might not kind of mesh well. I always wanted to have a novelization of the story of the remake Resident Evil that came out for GameCube, like following Jill Valentine and as she's getting totally freaked out and stuff like that, and then finding her compatriots, and then all of those documents that you find hidden within the mansion could just add more context. I don't know. There's just something about that's creepy, and I might not want to play through the entire game, but it might be interesting if I could just zoop through it in a book form.
There is surprisingly a pretty wide audience of game books already. Just when I was looking for images for the show tonight, I saw that there's a Resident Evil series. I don't know if they go over the game specifically, but
right.
I like that approach to it, where it's more of like how Star Wars treats expanded universe. I didn't read it, but I know another behind-the-scenes nerdy night, Michael Berg. He's deep into the Halo books, and that's a very expansive series that just delves deep into the Halo lore and explains way more than the games ever even touch on. And he likes it, and that reminds me of Star Wars. I know there's an Assassin's Creed series too, and I assume it's similar to that, where it's just delving into other times and different stories that could be going on in that universe. Yeah,
I mean, it's interesting because I was doing some background research on what's some of the worst novelizations, and actually got me thinking, because one of the worst novelizations was Myst. You guys remember that game?
Yeah.
And the crazy part is, when I think about it, I'm like, look, that's a really game that doesn't have a ton of descriptive plot. So that I feel like that's ripe for novelization. You could write whatever you want and make it really interesting, and I wonder if that's really the better way to go, because as stories do a good job now. I think I love Chrono Trigger, but the dialogue's already written. Like, would I just be rereading if I just rereading the script of the actual game?
Okay, don't tell me that you wouldn't reread the script of Chrono Trigger.
I probably would, but
there you go. Frog is a seminal character. You can relate.
Chrono goes
Frog.
to this villager. Chrono talks to the villager, and the villager told him that, there's a frog in a castle with a sword. Like, then he talks to the next villager. The villager says the same thing. Like,
yeah, no, I'm in. How much do I have to pay to hear this thing? You're selling me on it.
So are we talking about literal novelizations of an already existing game, or are we talking about novels based around that universe? That's kind of the question.
There's certain games I would want novelizations, and in Japan they did a manga series for each of the Zelda games. I think going up to Wind Waker,
and they're pretty good too.
Mm-hmm. So there are some instances where you could make a manga out of something, but yeah, I would love a straight up book of a couple of games, not like Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. Like that would make a great book.
I don't know. There might be some potential there to fix some of the story in that game.
No, you just have the character's inner monologue.
Yeah.
Going, as Sonic is sliding down on a skateboard, he's like, "Didn't I used to run?" What were they?
Look at this golden ring.
Mm-hmm.
Right in the middle of some product promotional for soap shoes. Inside of his inner monologue.
Yeah, yeah. If you want the no ads version, you have to. It's an app purchase. Yep. To remove all the advertising.
Nice.
Expanded universe would I think maybe be easier.
Yeah.
Or between game books, books that fill in the gaps between major entries, that could be interesting.
I was going to mention that. Yeah, like I've read all of the FF7 novellas that they did that are like between FF7 and Advent Children. And most of them are good. They were fun little reads.
I mean, I kind of wonder, like, at what point you're getting into this, like, gray area of, like, are you just writing a fanfic? Like, do fanfics already kind of do what you're talking about to,
Depends
like,
on
a less official level? Yes. Usually a lot.
Yes. Well, I mean, that's a question of just officialness, I guess, A fanfic could be regarded as true until the official creator comes out and, like, no, this is what happened, and they write their own version. And that just it's like Star Wars, all that expanded universe is now gone because Disney is going to write their own expanded universe.
Makes me want to cry.
And make it official universe. I don't hate that. I think the expanded universe still exists. It's not gone. It doesn't have to be official canon to be interesting and fun to read.
I mean, that's true, but I think like part of me invested in that expanded universe or extended universe. It's like I wanted to see some of those stories come to life in one way or the other.
I think we're gonna get pieces of it, definitely with these new movies.
A little bit of fan service for the for the Uber fan.
The people that have stuck around for the past 20 years.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, okay, so I'm gonna throw this final question out to y'all before we move on. If you could have one game novelized or a novelization from an expanded universe in a series, your pick, what would it be?
I've got an answer.
All right, I want to hear it.
You go first.
So, I mean, it's not a specific game. It's definitely like a world. But you know what? I think I would enjoy Phoenix Wright.
Okay.
Phoenix Wright, like it's, like maybe in like written as a Grisham novel. John Grisham meets Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney.
I'm not sure if they have novels, but I know they have manga, and I know there's an anime coming out next year for Phoenix Wright.
Oh, really?
And I'm psyched.
Man,
I'm gonna watch it.
I'm probably gonna watch that. I'll break my non-anime streak for the last like 10 years to watch Phoenix Wright the anime.
I'm trying to think of something, and I can't. I don't know.
Brandt, how about you?
Sure. I'm going to take it back to Resident Evil. I would love to read a book set as like a diary of one of the inventors of the T-virus, like going back to where like the founding of Umbrella happened and where the two guys met and stuff like that. There's just so much fertile ground there because the first game just throws you into this mansion. like this, whatever, you've wandered into hell in a survival horror and you'll die and bad shit's gonna happen to you. It's like the entry.
Could you imagine if you had like a video game where like half the video game was reading? Like, here, we can't give you backstory, so please read this like 2 chapters. And then
sounds like a JRPG, am I right?
Final Fantasy 13.
13?
Yes.
13. Okay, that's fair.
That game gives you none of the context of what's happening in that story, and if you go and read this novel that's inside the menus of the game, it'll explain everything. Doesn't make it more interesting, because it's not really that interesting. It's not one of the best stories of Final Fantasy ever, but it's there, and you have to read it for it to make sense.
Interesting. I mean, that kind of like to me throws back to. Did any of you play Saga Frontier?
No.
So it was like one of those like weird. There's a ton of different characters who all have their own little like plot lines, and they sort of intermingle. Like, I feel like anything, and this is a lot being like a Game of Thrones fan who's never read the books, but I feel like anything when there's a ton of characters and it's really hard to follow. Like, if you get a good book version of it, like it's probably simpler to follow. Simpler to understand. So, cool.
So I've got one. One of my favorite games, I'm pretty sure I've brought it up on the show before, but one of my favorite games that's kind of lesser known is Brave Fencer Musashi.
Oh, yes!
On the
I love that
PS1.
game.
And there was a sequel, but it wasn't that good, and it wasn't really a direct sequel. I would love to have some media, and a book would be fine. I'd be totally happy with a book if it just expanded that story of that game and just let me re-experience it some way, because I adore that game so much.
That is a great game. I love that game. It'll be interesting. I was thinking about this since you said Brave Fencer Musashi. Like, wouldn't it be interesting if they did like a Dynasty Warriors novelization and it was just like a history book? Like, here's the history of China.
Dynasty Warriors is based on a book.
Legend of the Three Kingdoms? Yeah, Romance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very long, dry book. I've read like 3 of the 4. It's tough. It's a tough read.
Sounds like a good time.
It's basically like Game of Thrones, kind of. It's
Except more
very
Asian.
confusing names, very political. Not a lot of intrigue though. It's very straightforward, like history drama.
Well, there we go.
Yeah.
Cool. Last words, Brandt, before we move on to a fun topic.
Oh wow! You know what? The book
That's
we're never
fair.
gonna see is I wanna have a histristory of the Super Mario Brothers from the point of view of a Goomba. I want a Goomba.
There is a Mario Brothers novelization, but it's not from the standpoint of a Goomba.
Is it the script to the Super Mario Brothers
I don't
movie
know.
from 1993?
It's definitely on that list of like the 10 worst novelizations. It's
All right.
up there. It's up there.
Let's go have a fun topic because Mr. Bowtie over here doesn't know how to have a good time.
So